It's that special time of year. It only happens once every year, and it's a time of joy, it's a time of happiness, it's a time of unbridled possibilities, and it's a time for pre-orders. Now, because of this sticker right here, I'm pretty sure I know what this is. I have only ordered one thing from Games Workshop recently, but let's find out anyway. Hello, and welcome to Your Average Bear Gaming. Today, we're going to be building and painting a once-a-year model that we all know and love, and talk a little bit about this time of year in general, what that means for the hobby, what that means for the hobbyists. Oh yeah, it's Red Gobbo time. Hello, and welcome to Your Average Bear Gaming. I am George. Join me, will ya, when we talk about the Red Gobbo. And also, this other Red Gobbo. It's a Red Gobbo miracle. Aw, yeah. So I took a pretty basic approach to painting these Red Gobbo models. Nothing really fancy. I tried initially to do it mostly by dry brushing, but it didn't really turn out the way I wanted. So I went back and just kind of layered the colors over him, most layering, a little bit of glazing. And we'll talk a little bit about the actual process a little later. I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about, well, the holidays. This is an interesting time, not just for gamers like us, but also for just people in general. And, you know, we're bombarded with images in media about happy holidays and Merry Christmas and all that kind of good stuff. It reminds us of, you know, spending time with family, with loved ones, all the wonderful things that the holiday season kind of means to most people. The thing is, not everyone has the same kind of celebration for the holiday season, and I don't mean like as a matter of faith. Yes, some of us are not. Some of us have different religious beliefs, and so we may not celebrate Christmas, or maybe we have different traditions. But for others, the holidays are a time of reflection, and it's a time where kind of the little demons that we ignore or deal with most of the year kind of come back and haunt us a little bit harder. You see, family, togetherness, that's kind of a big theme for the holidays. The whole idea about spending time with friends and family and loved ones, and that's fantastic. And I love that part of the holiday season. But some of us don't have that privilege for, you know, reasons that, see, people have different experiences. They have different contexts. They make different decisions. And sometimes those decisions lead us to being away from family and loved ones. Or maybe we didn't have a good, you know, family upbringing, or, you know, maybe we're not in touch with our family. Maybe we're estranged. Maybe we have very, very different political views. Maybe we just went through a breakup. Maybe there's so many reasons that an individual can find themselves a little bit more alone than normal on the holiday seasons. And, you know, during the normal course of events, you know, it's fine. You know, people find a way of coping, and maybe that's the way they prefer to live their lives. That's fantastic. But during the holiday season, it can be a little harder. There's so many messages about togetherness and happiness and yada, yada, yada. And I just want you to know, if you're watching this, and you're one of those people that, you know, maybe you weren't able to get to your families or your friends for the holidays, it's okay, man. It's cool. It happens, and it takes all kinds to make this world the beautiful, messy, chaotic, and sometimes tragic place that it is. And you're a solid part of it, and I hope that you are having a wonderful time regardless of your social situation. So maybe you pass the time, you know, building some models or painting some models, or maybe you're watching some YouTube, or catching up on some movies, some TV shows, catching up on your podcast, picking up a good book. Whatever that is that entertains you, that helps you pass the time, it's worthwhile. all of it, as long as it brings a smile to your face, enjoy the ever-living crap out of it. This video is dedicated to you, because your way of passing the holidays is valid too. Your way of living your life is valid too. Whoa, time out. I know I was probably saying something heartwarming about the holidays or gaming or something, but I just wanted to interrupt because, holy cow, assembling this squig's head is a huge pain in the rear. Seriously. Look, I know I'm not an expert modeler. I'll be the first person to say I'm not that good. But holy cow, this thing, these instructions are basically useless. They don't go together like anything else I've ever assembled that Warhammer 40k makes, that Games Workshop makes. I finally kind of figured it out, but it took me a good 45 minutes of trial and error and forcing things. And as you can see, I have kind of some putty back here to kind of stabilize the pieces as they dry, because there's a lot of test fitting. So yeah, before you glue anything down, if you're assembling this model, take your time, take a breath, go punch a Gretchen or something. Whatever it is that you got to do, this will try your patience. It can't just be me, right? Does anyone know if there's a trick to this? I mean, once I got it figured out, it was fine. But getting there, holy cow. All right, I got this last piece. Back to whatever I was talking about. This time of year is also a time of reflection. It's weirdly a way of taking stock, and I don't mean just because the New Year's Eve thing is happening, and maybe you have some resolutions, and maybe you don't. Maybe you want to lose some weight. Maybe you want to read more. Maybe you want to go to the gym more. Maybe you want to be nicer to people. Maybe, whatever it is. But it's not just about New Year's Eve, because maybe you don't have resolutions, but it's still somehow this weird end cap to the year. It's a kind of a natural stopping point, a natural time to reflect. What did you do last year? What did you accomplish? What happened to you? What did you achieve? How did you feel? And were you happy with that? Do you want that to continue? Do you want it to improve? Is there something in your life that you want to end, that you want to change? This is the time. This is the time to think about those things. And man, there can be heavy, heavy thoughts sometimes. They're not always positive. We live in a time, we live in a culture that values positivity and avoids the negative. Like somehow, if you don't look at the negative, you don't speak the devil's name, it's not going to come and haunt you. That's not how the devil works. And I don't mean the devil like the pitchfork and horns guy. The world is a beautiful place, and it's beautiful because of the light and the dark in all of us, and in the world around us. And ignoring the darkness, it can catch you by surprise. I have a way of thinking about this that some people tend to not agree with, but I have this very firm belief that if you're driving along the road, all the positive thoughts in the world isn't going to change the fact that there's potholes in that road that you have to avoid. If you refuse to acknowledge the existence of those potholes, you're not going to steer around them, and you're going to wreck your wheels. You're going to crash your car into those big old potholes. You need a balance. You need to see both the positive and the negative, because you want to go towards the light, but you want to avoid the darkness that stands in your way. So yeah, during this time of closure, during this time of renewal, if there's things about your situation that you want to change, now's a good time to think about it. Now's a good time to put a plan into action. Whatever it is, and maybe you don't have anything you want to change. Maybe everything is fine, and that's fantastic. Keep up the good work. And if you decide that next year should be a little bit different from this year, that's awesome too, man. Sit down, think about the things that you want to change, think about the things that contribute to the situation you find yourself in, execute that plan, and embrace the change. And hopefully next year will be even better than this year. So that's it. That's the heavy stuff that I wanted to talk about. I guess the point of all this is just the holidays can be great, but the holidays can also be kind of heavy. And if they're heavy for you, you're not alone. There's a lot of us for whom the holidays are kind of a mixed bag, and that's okay. If they're really heavy and you need someone to talk to, like there's lots of people out there that will engage. Obviously friends, obviously family, loved ones, a partner if you have one. But sometimes you might need professional help. And I encourage you, I'm a huge fan of having someone that you pay who has to listen to you without judgment and who can sometimes help you reframe those thoughts to make them, if not less heavy, at least manageable, at least constructive. Okay, that's it. No more heavy stuff. Let's talk about the painting of these models. Like I said, I used kind of basic layering. I used a dark brown flat prime for these models. I didn't want it to be very, very dark. I wanted it to be kind of an earth tone dark. Still wanted dark shadows, but not that dark. And I used a lot of reds here because, well, the Red Gobbo, right? He's got to be wearing red. I know that in the box art, he's not always wearing red. Like in this one, he's wearing a green outfit, and it's his squig that's red. And that's fine, but I feel like the Red Gobbo needs a red outfit. He's a Gretchen Santa Claus. Like, let's just go ahead and do that. And this one, he's wearing his red attire. So, this guy and this guy, maybe not, they're not the exact same Gretchen, but they have the exact same ethos, so they both get red. So over the dark brown prime, I layer on just a bit of red for the outfit. I start off with a kind of a red-brown mix, and then I kind of, as it dries, I go back and highlight it with some brighter and brighter reds. For the Gobbo who's riding the squig is also red. I know he doesn't have to be red, but I decided to make him red too. But I wanted to make sure that there were both different kinds of red, and so I started with the squig as a kind of a darker, he was a darker red than the Red Gobbo himself. So the squig mount kind of peaked at like a dragon red, which is kind of a darker red, so that the highlights are that dragon red color. And if you don't know what I mean by dragon red, I mean it's this guy from Army Painter. I'm sure there's an equivalent for the other paint systems. And the contrast here is that the Red Gobbo, the highlights ended here. This is pure red, so it's a brighter red. So they both look red, they both read red, but the Red Gobbo reads like a bright, synthetic, unnatural red, where the squig, he's a kind of a more normal red. I mean, I don't know if there's any red animals that aren't snakes or whatever, but still, he's a more kind of natural looking red. I used, so aside from the reds, I used a lot of browns for, the big leather bags, the belt buckles, or not the belt buckles, but the belts, the antlers. I used a lot of earth tones, and that's kind of my thing, and I don't know really why. I'm just really comfortable with browns and grays and things like that. So I think having kind of a darker all-around model helps the reds kind of be perkier, like the reds on the Santa Claus outfit that the Red Gobbo is wearing. The only really bright colors on these models are the gifts. Those gifts, I went pretty bright, I think. I went with like a pinkish red, I went with a purple and the occasional blue. But the thing I think I'm happiest with is the flocking. Quite some time ago, I picked up a container of this stuff. It's Army Painter's Battlefield Snow. I don't remember what I was doing it, what I wanted it for, but I wanted to kind of snow flocking, and so I asked around, and someone recommended this. I use that for these models, and I really, really like the way it looks, and I like the way it feels. When you look at it and you manipulate it, there is... Can you hear that sound? it kind of sounds like snow when you walk on it, when it's a kind of fresh, kind of a decent size buildup of snow on the ground. It kind of sounds like this, which I know it wasn't by design, but it's a pretty neat coincidence. And I guess the last kind of special touch that I used was for the spheres, the little the ornaments that the gobbo and the squig have kind of lying around all over the model. I used a little bit of iridescent medium. I don't know if you've ever seen this stuff before, but it comes in a tube just like this, and it's called iridescent medium. It has it's kind of a neutral color. I mean, it basically reads white for the most part, but you mix it in with other paints, or you use it as a glaze over paint that's already on your model, and it leaves this really nice iridescent shine that kind of reads as metallic, but it's different from metallic. I bought this a while ago, and I haven't really used it because it comes in this really big tube, but I just realized I could always put it in like one of these dropper bottles. I don't have to use this big old tube all the time. Anyway, I like the results, and I think that if you want kind of an interesting finish to some parts of your model, this may not be a bad thing to take a look at. I know I didn't go into a lot of detail on how I painted them, but you know how to paint. You've seen me paint before. It's nothing major, nothing groundbreaking. It's just layer painting. The biggest deal is, well, that it looks like this. These are my new Red Gobbos. They're all painted up, and they look pretty decent. They don't look great, but they don't look bad. I think I'll keep them. Here's this guy. He's dropping some dynamite down the chimney because I'm not sure what the deal is here, but I can say that this grate here that's on the ceiling of this house, it has imperial-looking aquila, so maybe he's doing a little trick-or-treat prank for Christmas, or maybe that's confetti dynamite. I don't know. Or maybe the people inside were just really, really naughty this year. Whatever the reason, the Red Gobbo is dropping an extra present down the chimney, and you can kind of see the flocking all over this. I think it's a very interesting, very visually appealing feature. He's even got some on his hat there. I tried to recreate those interesting swirl patterns on the dynamite. They look okay. They're certainly better than my usual attempt. Here is the kind of messy looking bag. I don't know how good a job I did picking up the different colors on the presents, but here is the back part of them, and so you'll see how that brown is kind of still showing through the red, so it looks like a red dyed brown leather coat. I think that's an interesting way of representing the Red Gobbo, and you'll see the puffy white stuff, kind of that is just dry brushed white over the primer, so it looks like fur, I think. It's about as best I can do. I mean, I could have done a little better job. And I don't think he looks half bad. If I was going to change anything at all, it would be making the Gobbo more green. He's very, very dark, and that wasn't really by intention, but as I tried to make him lighter and lighter and lighter, and I just couldn't push it because I'm not that great a painter. So he ended up being a very, very dark Red Gobbo, but at least you can see his bright yellow eyes, and so there you have it. Gobbo number 2 is quite a bit more interesting. He was a bit more difficult to put together. All those presents here have to be oriented in a very specific way. It was a challenging build, and there's no way, I think, to paint this guy without using a lot of sub-assemblies. There's just a lot going on. There's a lot of tight little spaces. But if you do the job right, if you do some patience, you can get a decent looking model. And this is mine. So you'll see the Red Gobbo still wearing his red coat. I kind of did the same thing here with the kind of the brown undercoat. You can kind of still see it peeking out of the red. But you'll see that both the squig and the Red Gobbo are wearing red. Well, the squig isn't wearing it. That's what he is, right? But they do look, I think, sufficiently different that you can tell that they're two different things, right? They still look red, but they're different red. And yeah, the brightest part of this model, again, regrettably, because the Gobbo is way too dark, just like the other guy, is all the presents. I think they look pretty cool. I will say, looking at the box art, these presents are beautiful. They're so well edge highlight. They look soft. It looks like paper. I don't know how they did that. That takes an incredible amount of skill. Mine, they don't look that good. I tried edge highlighting these, but they didn't turn out very good. I don't know if you can tell that they're even edge highlighted, but you know, it is what it is. I am getting better slowly. I wish it was faster, but it is what it is. Here you can see that little blue ball here on the antler with that iridescent finish. You can really see the shine. There's a couple more here, like this red one right there. There's another one on the base here. And you see there's a little Gretchen guy, a little grot, just kind of doing little snow angels in there. And I don't know what's going on here, but there's a Space Marine, which, you know, because this is Games Workshop, obviously has to be an Ultramarine. There's a Space Marine. The grot, the Red Gobbo, is giving away Space Marines. On the base, there's also a Stormcast Eternal. So the fantasy Warhammer kind of equivalent of the Space Marine. Why, I wonder, is the Red Gobbo giving people Space Marine action figures? What is Games Workshop trying to tell us? Nothing. It's just cute. I thought there was really nice details. I'm really actually fascinated with this model. There's a lot going on with this guy. I really enjoyed, not so much, well, I enjoyed painting them, but not because of the act of painting. Just as you're painting, you're picking up all these little details that you didn't really see at first glance, or at least I didn't really see at first glance. There's a lot of visually interesting things happening in this model, more so I think than in this one. I mean, there's some interesting things here too. Like here, you can kind of see there's a hook here, which kind of explains how the Red Gobbo got up to the ceiling here. Like I mentioned, there's the Imperial Aquila on this little metal grate that's on the ceiling. And yeah, so this one has, you know, some interesting details too, but this guy, there's a lot more of that stuff happening. I guess it's kind of the model equivalent of an Easter egg. There's a lot of little Easter eggs on this model that really made it a joy to paint. Kind of a pain, but also really fun. Like you're doing stuff and you're like, hey, what is this little bit here? Oh, it's another little Christmas ornament. It's stuck into the squig's mouth. I didn't notice it at first glance. Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I enjoyed the process of doing both of these guys, even though I struggled with the assembly on this guy much more than usual. If you're, you know, it's not for the faint of heart, but it can get done. If I could do it, you can do it. So that's it. That's all I have for today. I had a blast making up. I had a blast getting these guys together. I really love the kind of the lore, kind of the idea of the Red Gobbo in the Warhammer 40k universe. It's just fun. It's just fun. Like, I don't have an army to put these guys in, but as soon as I saw the models, I knew I had to buy them, I knew I had to paint them, and I knew I had to display them in my collection. They're just so interesting. Anyway, here's hoping that you have had a wonderful holiday season. You have a wonderful new year ahead of you. Have a wonderful afternoon. Be nice to yourselves and each other. Peace.